Lemmy's guitar was about to come down on Ozzy's head. Everyone at the Rainbow Bar had witnessed this moment, the end of two rock legends' friendship. But what happened next would be a complete surprise for everyone. It was 2 a.m. at the Rainbow Bar and Grill, the heart of Los Angeles nightlife. The rainbow-colored lights that gave this place its name and countless signed photos covering the walls mixed with the scent of tobacco and whiskey, creating a unique atmosphere. Every corner held a story, every table a legend. But tonight was different, because the man sitting in that black leather booth wasn't just a legend. He was rock music's godfather, Lemmy Kilmister, leader of the immortal Motorhead. This 69-year-old rock icon still maintained that legendary upright posture despite the weariness of years. The Jack Daniels bottle sitting on the table in front of Lemmy was a sign that this night would last much longer. But he didn't know yet that the man who would sit across from him would add a completely different color to his life. "Lemmy, my friend!" Ozzy's familiar voice echoed through the venue, causing several people to turn their heads. The Prince of Darkness approached Lemmy's table with a slight stagger and that characteristic smile. "Buy me a drink for old time's sake," he said, gripping the edge of the table. "Look how far we've come since Birmingham, right?" There was nostalgia in his voice, but also a deep loneliness he kept hidden inside. Lemmy slowly lifted his head and looked Ozzy up and down. "Ozzy," he said in his low voice, "so you're still your old self. Look, shouldn't you be done with those crazy antics at this age? You're a grandfather now. You have a family." There was a slight reproach in his tone, but also concern. He had watched everything that happened to Ozzy over the years, sometimes pitying him from afar. "Sit down across from me, but don't tell me those old stories. We're both too old for this stuff." He took another sip of his Jack Daniels, never taking his eyes off Ozzy's face. He didn't just see a friend across from him. He also saw a reflection of his own past, his own mistakes. Ozzy sat down across from him with a smile. "Are you judging me, Lemmy? You who spent your life on Jack Daniels and speed. Weren't you the one shouting 'Born to Raise Hell' at concerts?" There was a slight crack in his voice as he said this, as if he was going on the defensive. "Besides, at least I built a family. I have children. You were always alone, never formed any real connections." This last sentence hung in the air, voicing a painful truth they both knew. As Ozzy said these words, he noticed a change in Lemmy's face, but it was too late. The words had already left his mouth. Lemmy's eyes turned ice cold, his jaw clenched, and he slammed his glass down hard on the table. At that moment, the corner music system started playing Ace of Spades, as if it had specifically chosen this tense moment. "Don't talk about my life, Ozzy," Lemmy said, his voice taking on a threatening tone. "You don't know anything about me. Yes, I lived alone, but at least when I go on stage, I make my music. I don't mix it with circus acts. At least I didn't turn my family into a TV show." This low blow deeply wounded Ozzy. The reality TV show's topic, especially the Osbourne series, had been a subject of criticism for years and was one of Ozzy's most sensitive points. His face reddened, his hands clenched into fists. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice now rising uncontrollably. "Thanks to that show, millions of people got to know my family. They were proud of my children. Did you see the support Sharon received during her cancer treatment?" His voice cracked a bit because he actually had doubts about this topic from time to time, too. "You're jealous of me because you're going to die alone. You never loved anyone, never were loved." As soon as these words left his mouth, he regretted them. But it was too late. Lemmy's expression had completely changed. There wasn't just anger in his eyes anymore, but deep pain as well. Lemmy jumped to his feet. His chair flew backward and nearly toppled over. He grabbed his Rickenbacker guitar beside him and gripped it so tightly that white spots appeared on his fingers. "Jealousy? You've really lost your mind, Ozzy. I stand behind my music. I stand on my own 2 feet." He was holding the guitar's neck like a weapon. Everyone around thought a fight was about to break out. The bartender had already reached for the phone. "But you became a corporate puppet. You turned your music into a marketing tool." Lemmy's voice was trembling with anger. He was almost ready to swing the guitar. At that moment, everyone in the venue held their breath, watching these two legends about to fight. But just as he was about to raise the guitar, something unexpected happened. At that critical moment, something changed in Ozzy's eyes. He noticed that deep exhaustion hidden beneath the anger in Lemmy's eyes, that helplessness that age brings. This man had been trying to appear tough to everyone for years, but how lonely and sad he actually was. "Lemmy," he said in a softer voice, raising his hands in the air. "What are we doing here? We're friends. We both walked the same paths, experienced the same pain." His voice almost turned to a whisper. "You know me. I've always treated you with respect. Those shows, maybe they were a mistake, but I wanted to be with my family." His eyes were welling up. Real emotions were speaking now. "You know what it's like to live such a life, to have been involved with various substances for long years. We both survived. Isn't that a miracle?" This sincere approach surprised Lemmy. Ozzy's last words had hit him. The storm inside had suddenly stopped. He slowly put the guitar down on the table, but didn't sit yet. He looked at the man's face across from him. There was no fake smile or calculated look he wanted to see there, just the sincere eyes of a tired and hurt man. "This isn't a game, is it, Ozzy?" He leaned against the edge of the table, still couldn't fully trust, but his aggression had also passed. "Because guess what? I'm in the same shit too. I'm lonely too." As soon as this confession left his mouth, he was surprised at himself. This was something he hadn't told anyone for years. "But if this is also a stunt for the media, Ozzy, I'll really be destroyed this time. I don't have the strength to withstand such games at this age." Ozzy shook his head sadly, no longer trying to hide the tears in his eyes. "No, my friend, I came looking for you because I'm really lonely. All those cameras, all that show business, all those fake smiles." His voice cracked. "The truth is, I'm really very lonely, Lemmy. And so are you, aren't you? Both of us at this age with piles of wreckage behind us." He put his hands on the table, his trembling now very obvious. "Even Sharon sometimes feels distant to me. My kids are living their own lives. And me? I'm just an old rocker, still searching for those days." His voice was very sincere. There was no performance in these words. "Every night when I go to bed, I think, did I really accomplish anything? All those concerts, albums, awards, sometimes they all feel empty." This confession deeply affected Lemmy because he was thinking the same things. Lemmy slowly sat back down. "You know, Ozzy," he said, taking a deep breath, "I come here every night too. Same corner, same drink, same songs." He quietly refilled his whiskey. The clinking of the glass was the only sound in the venue at that moment, because there's nobody at home. There are the boys in Motorhead, but they have their own families too. And me. He paused, as if it was very difficult to continue. "I only exist in this night and in those old memories." A fragile expression appeared in his eyes. "My heart problems, diabetes, all those diseases. Sometimes I can't breathe when I go on stage, but I can't quit music. Because without music, who am I? Just an old man." His voice was trembling as he said these words, as if he was opening up like this for the first time. When Ozzy heard these words, his chest tightened. "I feel the same thing, my friend. Those TV shows, yes, they made money and gave me the opportunity to be with my family. But," he paused, choosing his words carefully, "I also feel like I sold my soul in a way. People now see me not as the real Ozzy, but as a character." He covered his face with his hand, the lines of fatigue becoming even more pronounced. "When I go on stage and sing Iron Man, I don't feel like I used to anymore. It feels like I'm singing someone else's song." He fixed his eyes on Lemmy. "Have you ever felt like that? Like even your own music doesn't belong to you?" This question was the deepest fear they both shared, that loss of identity that comes with aging. Both remained silent for a while. The music in the bar continued but seemed quieter somehow. The weariness of years, regret, and that deep loneliness had settled over the table. Lemmy slowly put his hand on Ozzy's shoulder, a gesture of softness he hadn't shown in years. "You know," he said in a low voice, "when I was roadieing for the Beatles in the 1960s, I heard Born to Be Wild for the first time. That night, I said to myself, this is it. This music will set me free. This music will change my life." The sparkle of those days appeared in his eyes. "You felt the same way, didn't you? When you were forming Black Sabbath, playing those first riffs." Ozzy nodded in agreement, remembering those days. "Yes, in Birmingham, in that little club when we played Paranoid for the first time, there was a power outage, but we kept playing. That night, I understood the power of music." Both of their eyes welled up as they remembered that pure passion of their youth years. "When we wrote War Pigs, we thought we were going to change the world," Ozzy continued, his voice filled with nostalgia. "It was during the Vietnam War, Everyone was angry, rebelling. We were expressing that anger through music. Music was more powerful than everything back then, more than politics, money, fame. There were only real emotions. He paused, took a sip of whiskey. But now, everything has become commerce. The music industry, reality shows, social media, it's all about selling more. His voice cracked a little. Sometimes I wonder if that old Ozzy died. That crazy kid from Birmingham, the kid who only had music. Lemmy nodded understandingly. He also missed those innocent days of music. At least you're still standing, my friend. Look at me, said Lemmy, pointing to his chest. Pacemaker installed, diabetes, the doctor keeps saying I don't have much time left. There was acceptance in his voice, but also rebellion. But talking with you tonight, this was real. I haven't had such a genuine conversation in a long time. There was gratitude in his eyes. You know, lately I keep thinking about what would have happened if I had done my music career differently. Maybe if I had gotten married, had children. He paused, as if this thought was very painful. But then I realized that this was my path. Motorhead was everything to me. It couldn't have been any other way. This sincere confession deeply affected Ozzy. Lemmy, said Ozzy seriously, his voice mixing regret and understanding. Those TV shows, reality programs, I didn't actually do them just for money. Of course, money was important too, he added honestly. But my real reason was to be with my family. Because they are the real reason I keep living. When Sharon got cancer, when Jack and Kelly had drug problems. His voice completely cracked. Music wasn't enough anymore, Lemmy. Just making music wasn't enough. We had to fight together as a family, and maybe through that show, other families could empathize with us too. He covered his face with his hands. But you're right, we also turned everything into a commodity in a way. I admit that. This confession completely melted the ice between them. Lemmy nodded understandingly, now better understanding Ozzy's motivation. I never married, never had children. There was always music, always the road, always the stage. There was regret in his voice, but also acceptance. Maybe it was a big mistake, but back then I couldn't think any other way. I was living the rock and roll life. I was free. He paused, finished his whiskey. Now that I'm old, I understand what it means not to have someone to share with. Who do I share my successes with? Who do I tell my fears to? His eyes welled up. I envy you, Ozzy. You have a family. When you go home, there are people waiting for you. Ozzy now understood what lay beneath Lemmy's anger, deep loneliness and regret. As the two men talked about the memories from when they wrote, Mama, I'm Coming Home together, Ozzy noticed the sparkle in Lemmy's eyes. When we were writing that song together, said Lemmy, I understood your longing to come home, but I also realized I never had a real home. Ozzy nodded. But you were also part of that song, my friend. Maybe you made the Rainbow Bar your home. Maybe family isn't just about blood ties. These words surprised Lemmy. He had never thought about it from this perspective. The boys in Motorhead, friends here, even the days we wrote that song together. Maybe they're your family too, Ozzy added. This new perspective brought a slight smile to Lemmy's face. As the night progressed, they began discussing the changes in the music industry together. We used to make music because we had to, said Lemmy. Now everyone's trying to go viral. Ozzy agreed with this view. But maybe our job is to teach young musicians the real rock and roll spirit, he said. Have you ever mentored a young musician? Lemmy thought about it. Actually, no, I was always busy with my own business. This statement made both of them think. Maybe this was what they could do in their old age, share their experiences, guide the new generation. What do you say, Lemmy? Could we do something together? Workshops for young musicians or something? Lemmy's face lit up with this suggestion. You know what? This crazy idea actually makes sense. They began making plans. I could provide the technical knowledge, said Lemmy, and you could handle stage performance. Ozzy was excited. A Motorhead and Black Sabbath workshop. This would be a first in rock history. Lemmy laughed. This time it was a genuine smile. Who knows, maybe we could even write a song together. Two old madmen's final song. This idea thrilled them both. They weren't just talking about the past anymore. They were making plans for the future. As the bar approached closing time, both felt that this night had changed their lives. Then everything changed. Lemmy and Ozzy began meeting regularly. That corner table at the Rainbow Bar became their private sanctuary. Every weekend they would sit there, reminiscing about old songs, listening to each other's new projects, but most importantly drawing strength from each other's genuine friendship. While Lemmy taught Ozzy how to capture Motorhead's raw energy, Ozzy showed him the real meaning of family and love in life. The two old warriors realized they no longer had enemies to fight. The real battle was with the loneliness within themselves. When Lemmy's final concert was given in Los Angeles in 2015, Ozzy came on stage and sang Ace of Spades with him. Both had tears in their eyes because they both sensed this was a farewell concert. When Ozzy received the news of Lemmy's death in December 2015, he couldn't speak for days. His speech at the funeral became one of the most emotional moments in rock history. Lemmy wasn't just a musician, he was rock and roll's last true warrior. But most importantly, he taught me that friendship is never too late, that prejudices can be overcome, and that even two old men have much to learn from each other. That night, a memorial was held at the Rainbow Bar. Ozzy sat in Lemmy's corner and sang Born to Raise Hell while sipping from his beloved Jack Daniels. All the bar's regulars joined this memorial ceremony, and by the end of the night, no one could dry their eyes. They left a guitar pick on Lemmy's empty chair with these words written on it: "Lemmy lives here now, in every note, in every friendship, in every whiskey glass."